Welcome to Divyankura, the Knowledge Bureau. In today's video, we will discuss about Middlemarch, a novel prescribed in the syllabus of MEG-3 of IGNOU. I will provide you the answers of the question asked in June 2024 and December 2023 term-end exam of IGNOU. Question 1. How does George Eliot engage with the woman question in Middlemarch? Asked in June 2024 term-end exam. Marks 20. Answer. Introduction. Mary Ann Evans, widely known as George Eliot, was an English novelist, poet, journalist, translator, and one of the leading writers of the Victorian era. Eliot's Middlemarch explores the woman question by depicting the restrictive gender roles that women face in early 19th century. Next point, what is the woman question? The woman question is a phrase usually used in connection with a social change in the later half of the 19th century, which questioned the fundamental roles of women in countries such as the United Kingdom, the United States of America, Canada, and Russia. Issues of women's suffrage, legal rights, property rights, reproductive rights, medical rights, bodily autonomy, and marriage dominated cultural discussions in newspapers and intellectual circles. While many women were supportive of these changing roles, they did not agree unanimously. Often issues of marriage and sexual freedom were most divisive. Next point, the woman question in Middlemarch. George Eliot explores the woman question through her complex female characters, particularly Dorothea Brooke and Rosamond Vincy, who reflect different aspects of women's lives, struggles, and aspirations in a male-dominated world. Eliot critiques the limitations placed on women and examines how these constraints affect their personal development, intellectual fulfillment, and social roles. 1. The intellectually ambitious woman. Dorothea Brooke embodies the aspirations of an intellectually curious and idealistic woman, but she is constrained by the limited options available to her in a patriarchal society. At the start of the novel, Dorothea has a desire for knowledge and a passion for improving the world, but she finds no suitable outlet for her ambitions. Her decision to marry Mr. Casaubon, an older, learned scholar, is driven by her desire to contribute to intellectual pursuits, as she believes she would be assisting him in important scholarly works. However, her marriage turns out to be stifling, as Casaubon is emotionally distant, dismissive of her intellectual contributions, and ultimately unwilling to share his work with her. Through Dorothea's disappointment, Eliot critiques the societal expectation that women should find fulfillment in subservience to their husbands. 2. The conventional woman. In contrast to Dorothea, Rosamond Vincy represents a more conventional model of femininity, one shaped by societal expectations of beauty, charm, and domesticity. Rosamond's ambitions are centered around securing a prestigious marriage, and she views her marriage to Tertius Ligeat, a doctor, as a means of elevating her social status. However, her superficial understanding of marriage and her self-centered desires lead to disappointment, as Ligeat's career struggles and financial difficulties clash with her expectations of a comfortable upper-class lifestyle. Through Rosamond, Eliot critiques the social conditioning that encourages women to prioritize material wealth, status, and appearance over deeper emotional or intellectual engagement. 3. Education and intellectual pursuits. Eliot also engages with the woman question through the theme of education and restrictions on women's intellectual development. Dorothea's thirst for knowledge and self-improvement is constantly thwarted by societal expectations that women should focus on domestic duties and emotional support rather than intellectual or public pursuits. Dorothea's frustration with her inability to engage meaningfully in intellectual work with Casaubon is emblematic of the broader exclusion of women from the academic and professional spheres. Eliot critiques the limited education available to women, which often focused on superficial accomplishments rather than substantive intellectual development. 4. George Eliot uses marriage as a central theme to explore the limitations placed on women. Eliot also critiques the rigid gender roles of our time, suggesting that the narrow definitions of femininity and masculinity harm both men and women. Dorothea's intellectual energy is wasted in this marriage, highlighting how women of her time were often denied meaningful intellectual partnerships or the opportunity to pursue their own ambitions. Despite her passion and potential, Dorothea is limited by a culture that does not allow women to develop their own identities outside of marriage. Next point, Eliot's perspective. George Eliot's connection with the woman question remained equivocal. Though she showed support for the Married Women's Property Bill and was a good friend to several activists of the time, she never joined the women's movement directly. At one level, Eliot's preferences were academic. She was never a mother and does not seem to have regretted such a fate. Yet, she believed to achieve a fuller experience as a woman, one had to give birth to a child and become a mother. Eliot's sympathy for women, limited by their circumstances, is evident in much of her personal correspondence and in her journals. At the same time, Eliot will not compromise professional standards by making concessions for women writers. Next point, criticism regarding Eliot. Kate Millett, the author of Sexual Politics 1970, came up with the charge that George Eliot had lived the feminist revolution but had not written about it. In Why Feminist Critics Are Angry with George Eliot 1976, an article, Zelda Austen traces the hostility of critics such as Millett to the novelist's failure to allow her heroines any happy fulfillment other than marriage. Next point, conclusion. In Middlemarch, George Eliot uses a range of female characters and relationships to engage with the woman question and the limitations imposed on women in Victorian society. The novel presents a nuanced exploration of the constraints women face, while also suggesting the possibility of a more egalitarian and fulfilling future for those who resist these limitations. Question 2. Examine how George Eliot employs a polyphony of voices to depict the provincial realities of Middlemarch, asked in December 2023 Term Exam of IGNOU. Marks 20. Answer. Introduction. Middlemarch is a novel by George Eliot, the pen name of Mary Ann Evans, which has a subtitle, A Study of Provincial Life. It appeared in 8 installments or volumes in 1871 and 1872. Set in 1829 to 1832 in a fictional English Midland town called Middlemarch, the novel follows distinct intersecting stories with many characters. In the novel, Eliot uses a variety of techniques to depict the provincial realities of the 19th century England. Next point, what is polyphony? The term polyphony comes from music. It literally means many-voiced. The Russian linguist and literary critic Mikhail Bakhtin introduced the concept of polyphony in his book Problems of Dostoevsky's Poetics. Bakhtin says that polyphony is a literary and linguistic theory that describes the existence of multiple narrative voices in a work alongside the author's voice. Next point, provincial realities of Middlemarch. The novel is a panoramic exploration of the fictional town of Middlemarch and its inhabitants. Through its richly drawn characters, intricate plotliness, and insightful social commentary, Eliot presents a nuanced examination of the complexities, constraints, and dynamics of provincial life during the Victorian era. 1. Landscape of opinions. The canvas of the novel is a crowded one. A host of characters belonging to every profession, age group, and walk of life have been brought in and through their actions and interactions live in a limited region. Middlemarch and its environments has been faithfully recorded. Not even the minor characters are superfluous as they serve to illuminate one aspect or the other of provincial life of the time. As Quentin Anderson points out, it is a landscape of opinions that is dominant in the novel. 2. Conservative society. The isolated community of Middlemarch has certain well marked characteristics. It is tradition bound, unchanging, and deeply conservative. Changes are looked upon with suspicion. Railways, which are yet distant and far off, are regarded as a threat to the agricultural way of life. Class distinctions are taken for granted. Class privileges protect a person even when one behaves in an inappropriate way from the class they belong. For example, when Mrs. Cadwallader, a noble lady of high birth, haggles and bargains with common traders and cuts jokes with them, nobody thinks ill of her for this reason. The class to which she belongs shields her effectively. 2. Class barrier. The society of Middlemarch is obsessed with class and family reputation. In the 19th century, class was defined by income, occupation, education, and family structure. The strength of the position of a man like Mr. Brooke, who had both aristocratic birth, rank, and wealth, is that he combines both advantages and has never really been forced into the recognition that the advantages are separable. There's some honest workmen also who devoted to their own trade and business. They do not hanker after social ranks and they neither like nor understand the aristocratic way of life. 4. Social climbing. Money is all important and different attitudes towards money reveals the moral bent of different characters. But rank and status are of still great importance. Characters are strive to climb to a higher rank. Rosamond Vincy is a great social climber. She is attracted to Legate not for any of the qualities for which he is really admirable, but for his good family connections in Northumberland. Marriage is a ladder for her by which she can climb as far away as possible from the merchant class. 5. Conventional view of womanhood. In the Victorian era, marriage is the ultimate goal for every woman. The novel explores the power dynamics, societal expectations, and personal struggles that come with marriage. Although most characters in Middlemarch marry for love, marriage is not portrayed as the ultimate source of happiness. Celia, Dorothea's sister, is a good representative of the kind of woman who is entirely happy with the feminine nursery world. For a woman, everything depends on marriage, even her reading or any public acts. 6. Multi-perspective approach. The narrative structure of the novel adds depth to its study of provincial life. The novel employs a multi-perspective approach with multiple characters serving as focal points for different sections of the narrative. This narrative technique allows Eliot to provide a panoramic view of provincial society, presenting a mosaic of individual experience, perspective, and social dynamics. 7. Multiple characters. Eliot's characterization contributes to its study of provincial life in Middlemarch. It features a diverse array of characters, each representing different aspects of society and embodying distinct values, aspirations, and flaws. The interconnectedness of these characters within the provincial setting allows Eliot to explore the complexities of human relationships, morality, and individual agency in the face of societal expectations. Last point, conclusion. Eliot's Middlemarch is such a great novel because of the solidity, vividness, truthfulness, and comprehensiveness of the picture of provincial life presented in the novel. Through its rich characterization, intricate plotliness, and insightful social commentary, Middlemarch provides a profound and enduring portrait of provincial life that continues to resonate with readers for its timeless exploration of human nature and societal forces. This makes it a valuable social document which tells us more about the real day to day common provincial life of England in the 1830s than any book of history. Thank you so much for watching. If you like my content, do subscribe my channel Divyankura, the Knowledge Bureau. Stay tuned for further updates.